Good evening, everyone. We'd like to go ahead and welcome you to our Fruita City Council meeting. The time is now 7:01 p.m. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Deb, would you please call roll?
Counselor Bremen.
Here.
Counselor Purser.
Here.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cry.
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Present.
Counselor Hansi.
Here.
All right, our next item is a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand with us. We'd like to take a moment to allow all faiths and beliefs the opportunity for a silent prayer. Thank you. If you'd please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That sounded pretty good.
I think that was the best pledge we've ever had. That was awesome.
All right. Just so Council Miller said that this has probably been the best Pledge of Allegiance that we've had in a long time. So good job. All right. With that, we're going to move into our agenda. Are there any changes to that agenda tonight?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Attorney Mary Elizabeth Geiger does have something to add to the executive session, and I'll let her explain it.
Okay.
Thank you. So just need to add to the last item on the executive session regarding receiving legal advice from the city attorney to include economic development.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. With that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Counselor Bremen.
Yes.
Counselor Purser.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cry.
Aye.
Counselor Miller. Counselor Hansi.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. With that, we're going to move into our proclamations and presentations. So we've got two presentations and one proclamation tonight. And so the first presentation is for the Fruita Students and Teachers of the Month for February 2023. And it's Monument Ridge Elementary School. And so I've asked James to come down and help me with this. We find it a little less intimidating for the kids if we're out front here instead of sitting back there. So we've got several kids and some staff that we would like to recognize tonight. And so with that, we're going to call your name and we're going to ask you to come up and then stay up here so all the parents can get their photo opportunities with that. So we also do give a pass to the Fruita Rec Center, a one-day pass, and then we've got an I Heart Fruita button to give out to each one of those that are going to be coming up here as well. So our first one, and again, Monument Ridge, this one's picked, I think, by Emily Larson, who is a principal. She picks how each school gets to pick how they want to award their students. And so I know last year we did the student council and we're doing that one again. So the first one is Macy Rasmussen for student council president. So if you'd come up. Our next one is for the student council secretary, Anna Neasley. Then we've got the student council historian, Olivia Hughes. I like how they're all matching. Yeah, that looks good. Then we've got the council treasurer, Michaela Allen. And then the next one we've got is the school counselor at Monument Ridge Elementary. And this is in recognition of National School Counseling Week. And so it says, thanks for all you do, Rebecca Bradshaw. And then the last certificate I have is in recognition of your nomination as a White Iced Outstanding Educator. Thanks for all you do, and it's for Charla Skillicorn. Are you going to be able to make it up here, Charla? I don't know what Emily does to you in the office, but it doesn't look too good here. So come on. So let's give them all a big round of applause. Parents, don't be shy. You can stand up and come up and take photos. We won't make you stay sitting. It always takes the longest with these type of presentations. Let's give them another round of applause. All right, with that, we're gonna, so if parents and students want to leave, now would be a good opportunity. You're welcome to stay. We only have about 3.5 hours of meeting left, so.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You ruined all that crowd for Colin's movie.
Mhm. That's true. That's all about Matthew, so I don't.
Can I do this?
Or he said I ruined the thing because there's all these people in here for a council meeting. I said it's ruining Matthew's story here.
Wait till after that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was been good.
It's leave on a high note.
Yeah. All right. Is it quiet enough? All right, with that, we're going to move into our proclamation tonight. And so we've got a proclamation affirming a commitment to countering anti-Semitism. And I've asked Janine to read that for us tonight.
Whereas the city Fruita is a diverse city and takes great pride in our diversity and respect for all people, our local Jewish community contributes to our community in countless ways. And whereas the use of anti-Semitic language, conspiracy theories, Holocaust denial, and hatred towards Jewish people has increased exponentially the past decade and has led to increased attacks against the Jewish people. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, while Jewish people account for no more than 2% of the U.S. population, Jews were the target of 55% of all religiously motivated hate crimes in recent years. And whereas an Anti-Defamation League audit found that the number of incidents of anti-Semitism in the United States reached an all-time high in 2021, and whereas Colorado ranked 8th among states for the number of reported anti-Semitic incidents, with the number of reported incidents growing by 53%, reaching the highest number of reports in more than a decade, and whereas anti-Semitism is counter to the basic American principles of tolerance, pluralism, and democracy, and has led to violence and the destruction of lives and communities, and whereas nearly 1 out of every 4 Jews in the U.S. has been the subject of anti-Semitism over the past year, whereas education and action are essential to prevent the spread of anti-Semitism, provide strong support to a vulnerable community, and combat toxic hatred that harms not only the Jewish community, but all Coloradans. And whereas it is incumbent upon us all to speak out against anti-Jewish hate, violence against Jews, anti-Semitism, and hate speech of any kind, and to stand with our Jewish community members as allies in support and solidarity, strengthening our commitment to greater understanding and dignity for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fruita City Council does hereby affirm a commitment to countering anti-Semitism in the city of Fruita.
All right, thank you. And we've got some members from our Jewish community that would like to come up and speak. Is there somebody here that, don't be shy. If you want to step up the microphone there, right there, or do you just want to come up and say hi? Hi.
I love it.
I would like to thank all of you for caring about the Jewish community in Grand Junction. As you know, we've had problems. And again, we thank you for supporting us.
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you
That's
for
okay.
representing them.
Oh, do you want to call up the rest of your colleagues for the photo?
Come on.
You want to call up the rest of your colleagues for your photo? Or, whoa. You want to squeeze in? Hey, not all of us. Thank you for
being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Okay.
Thank you. You guys don't have to hang around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll give you the same out. If you want to stay, you can, but if you want to bail, now's the time.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, with that, we're going to move into our next presentation. And so we've got a presentation from our Downtown Advisory Board. They're going to be sharing their goals and vision for 2023 with us. And I think we've got several of them here, and Jared Prochnow is going to be the one presenting for us. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Works.
I saw it a minute ago.
Did you?
Thought I did.
We'll just leave your name up there for a few more minutes.
That works too. Okay,
Close.
there. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Jared Prochnow, for those of you that don't know me. I am the chair of the Downtown Advisory Board. I just became the chair of the Downtown Advisory Board a little while ago, and joined after the election earlier this year. So we've got a lot going on specifically with the Downtown Advisory Board, but specifically for today, the goals of the presentation, as you can see, is that the kind of first order of business is that I need to, part of the bylaws, I should back up, part of the bylaws for the Downtown Advisory Board is that we're supposed to update City Council typically once a year, just kind of on what's going on, what we're working on, and how we can be of assistance since we're an advisory board to you. The second piece is we're going to update City Council on the board itself, specifically the composition, who's on the board, and kind of the current activities that we've got going on. And then lastly, I'd like to ask for some input from you guys, from City Council, on what it is that you would like to see the Downtown Advisory Board accomplish, and more specifically, what it is that you'd like to see in terms of a connection between the Downtown Advisory Board and City Council. So taking a look specifically at what the Downtown Advisory Board was kind of outlined to do, I pulled a lot of this stuff. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with some of it. But what you see on the screen there are the goals pulled directly from the bylaws for the Downtown Advisory Board. So specifically, item number 1 on there is what I just talked about, giving a presentation basically to City Council to update you on the specifics of what's happening. The board will encourage and facilitate cooperation, collaboration, networking, and partnerships with and between property owners, business owners, and community members and local government to develop plans and visions to address issues in the downtown area. We'll also work to implement plans to help revitalize downtown and achieve its full potential, which that's my favorite item on there. The board will also work closely with the community groups to maximize the downtown area, basically. And then eventually, this is one item that I would like your feedback on at some point in time. Doesn't have to happen tonight, since I know we have a limited time. But eventually the city council will encourage the board to become an independent entity, basically. Separate, distinct, and independent from the city government. Until the independence can be achieved, the city council will support the board the same as the other boards. So that's one of the goals that I'd like to discuss at some point or another. Like I said, either tonight or even via email, just feedback is kind of what we're looking for there. Looking at the powers and duties, this is pulled directly from the city's website. Serves in an advisory capacity specifically to the Fruita City Council. The board will serve as a principal coordinating body for the advancement of the downtown area in Fruita. Also from the bylaws, basically stating the same thing. The board has a mission to work with property owners, business owners. Like I mentioned before, specifically kind of skipping ahead, the board is dedicated to developing the full potential of the strong downtown that will thrive and grow. So that's the ultimate goal that we've looked at. And the reason why I include those in tonight's presentation specifically is because what we've done as a downtown advisory board is taken a look at what the original intent was for the board. And then kind of taking a look at whether or not that intent still needs to be present or if we can move in a different direction. So looking at the status of downtown, this is a pretty short slide, but when it comes down to it, this is also a point that I would like to have a discussion with city council at some point or another, again, tonight or via email. But the status updates, at least, that's part of what I am supposed to, or the board is supposed to present to city council, is status updates on the downtown area. The status updates that I can provide are specifically from city staff when they send out the advisory information on Fridays on what's going down in all of Fruita. So if it is council's intent for the downtown advisory board to continue to kind of serve as an advisory board to city council, then I'd like to try and find a more creative way to potentially connect so that we can do just that, advise on what's happening in downtown. Because in my presence on the downtown advisory board so far, we've not really fulfilled or at least participated in that way in terms of providing feedback to you guys and what's happening downtown. So I'd like to kind of facilitate some sort of discussion specifically about that. And that can also be feedback that we receive through our council liaison, and then we can discuss it in our meetings, lots of different ways, but just something that I wanted to bring up. That's one of the original intents. And as I see it right now, we don't do a lot of interacting, the Downtown Advisory Board and City Council. So I'd love to see that change. The composition of the board specifically, you can see, obviously, I'm the chair. We have Ethan No, who serves as the secretary. Janine, obviously, is our council liaison. We just kind of started to add Hillary Daniels, who is a kind of chamber liaison. One of the connections that I've made since I've been on the Downtown Advisory Board has been with the Chamber of Commerce, as one of their main goals is to support businesses in downtown Fruita. The Downtown Advisory Board has very similar goals, so it just kind of seemed to work in a symbiotic way. So now we kind of have a chamber liaison. She's going to be a full member of the board, hopefully, when the application goes through and all that process happens. We also have Justin Weaver and Fred Martinez. Fred Martinez, his tenure on the board, I guess, is up, I believe, in March. So one of the things specifically, and the reason why I wanted to include this is because this is a very small board as of right now. One of the things that we need to focus on, and one of the things we talked about and discussed quite a bit in this last meeting, is trying to recruit a lot. Because the things that we'd like to be able to do, the direction that we'd like to move in supporting downtown businesses and revitalizing downtown, as is kind of in our original charter, we need more people to do that. So as you can see there, we're currently working on recruitment. We've kind of recognized with the smaller board, there's several things that we've wanted to do that we've not had a chance to do because obviously, just like you guys, we all have lives, we all have families, so it's difficult to get those things done in addition to everything else. So with the recruitment of more members, theoretically, we should be able to accomplish quite a few more things. One of the things that we've created, and one of the biggest things that's come out of the Downtown Advisory Board since I joined, has been what we call 81521 Thursdays. This is a program that basically is created and was created to incentivize not only local residents, but local businesses to kind of interact a little bit more. So the idea behind it is to drive local residents to the downtown area, to those local businesses. So it is encouraging businesses in the downtown area to participate. Participate being a loose word, meaning that you don't have to provide a discount. You don't have to provide free services or free merchandise or anything like that. We're not necessarily looking for that. We're looking for a way to feature a specific item that you want to sell in your shop, or a specific beer, perhaps a Copper Club, for instance. Those types of interactions, not just discounts for local residents, but again, incentivizing local residents to visit the local businesses. As a community member, I've been in Fruita for 9 years now. And there's several people that I talk to on a regular basis that are not familiar with a lot of the businesses on Aspen and in the downtown area. And there's some incredible businesses and incredible things that we should be able to take advantage of. So this was created to have a locals day. Also, the point of it is not to have a locals night, since some of the businesses potentially close earlier. Sometimes they close at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes even earlier than that. So having a locals night means that those businesses potentially wouldn't be able to participate. So the idea behind this is to have a locals day on Thursdays is kind of where we landed. We connected with businesses via email. Connected with businesses, talking to several of them. We also hosted at the Cavalcade some kind of feedback sessions to invite businesses to come tell us, do you currently have a locals night? Do you offer discounts? Would you be willing to participate in kind of a citywide program? We got some feedback, not a lot, which is why part of what we want to do when we get more board members is to go back out there and chat with more businesses, get in the door, meet with the business owners, and actually get more of a connection so that we can kind of, again, push this program. But to have a locals day so that the entire day throughout the downtown area, anybody can visit those businesses and take advantage of the services or discounts or products that those local businesses are offering. Obviously, it's kind of mutually beneficial to all. Upon reaching our recruitment goals, again, just like I mentioned, we're going to try and connect more on a one-on-one basis, specifically with those businesses in downtown, as well as the businesses across the highway, just to kind of encourage local residents to visit those businesses as well. But again, one of the things that we ran into having a smaller board is we just don't have enough people that have enough time to be able to take a Saturday or Sunday or even a weekday potentially and actually go physically visit those businesses. So currently the 81521 Thursdays program is going to be put on hold until we can kind of meet more people that are interested in being on the Downtown Advisory Board so that we can reach more people and be more efficient. One of the connections I mentioned earlier that I have made on the Downtown Advisory Board is with the Fruita Chamber. And one of the things that has been discussed specifically is Trick or Treat Street and Trunk or Treat Street. Those two items were combined this last year. And one of the things, so I guess I should take a step back. One of the Trick or Treat Street is something that the chamber would actually like to hand over to the Downtown Advisory Board. They've got a lot going on. They've got a lot of things that they're planning. And so this was kind of a natural thing that they felt like doesn't require a whole lot of effort to plan. It runs well and it's been running well for a long time. So they were pushing it to potentially have the Downtown Advisory Board take over. We would love to do so. So part of that discussion specifically is, do we keep the events combined, the Trunk or Treat Street and the Trick or Treat Street? We got a lot of feedback that it was a great event this last year, but it was a lot. It was very, very busy. And even myself with the kids that I have, we started on one side and we barely made it down the entire length of the street before the event was over. Didn't even get to the other side. So very successful event. I want to point that out, but it was one of those events that it was just kind of chaotic and crazy and there was a lot. So the idea here specifically is to separate the events again, because one of the big pieces of feedback that we got is that Trick or Treat Street is typically always on Halloween. And a lot of people can count on that to be on Halloween, so that if they don't necessarily have a safe place to trick or treat, then they can go to Trick or Treat Street and participate in that. So we'd like to keep those events separate. We'd like to take over Trick or Treat Street. However, one of the things that we did recognize too is that there are some costs associated with that event. The costs are minimal at this point. When it comes down to it, we've been instructed that it's basically just kind of marketing and then some candy to hand out to the kids, that typically the chamber purchases the candy, and then the marketing oftentimes is donated by a sponsor. So we are working with the chamber very closely with them to try and continue that tradition. However, one of the things that the Downtown Advisory Board would like is to potentially connect with City Council if for whatever reason we are unable to get some sort of sponsor for that event for the marketing. We'd like to be able to petition you guys to help out with some of those costs so that we can continue to advertise for that, put the posters up just like we've always done. And I say we being the chamber, but participate in the exact same way so that we can keep the event going. So I will connect with City Council, specifically with Janine as it gets closer to that, to make sure that you guys are updated with it. But I kind of wanted to put you guys on standby if that's possible so that we can continue to support the community with that event. And then that's kind of basically it. So those are the things that are happening right now. Overall, the biggest piece is that we're really trying to work on recruitment. So one of the pieces of feedback that I'd love from you guys is if you know people, obviously being city councilors, if you know people that would like to participate, you are welcome to share my information, and we would love to connect with them to get more people on the board. My contact information is here. And then specifically when it comes to the advisory piece, being an advisory board to City Council and advising you on anything that happens in downtown. If there's a specific way that you guys as the City Council would like to see that happen, then I would be open and the board would be open for some sort of communication about that so that we can fulfill that piece of our charter. That's all that I had. Any questions for me?
Yeah, we probably would. Does anybody want to start?
I'm just curious, how large of a board, in terms of your recruitment goals, what are those?
So technically, according to the bylaws, we can have up to 12 people. I think 12 sounds a little chaotic, but at the same time, we'd like to have more than the 5 or 6 that we have currently.
Ken?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I was there when the board was started. It was started because we were going through that, what is this Main Street program? We were determining if we want to be part of that, and we determined we didn't at the time. So a lot of the trajectory of that board was set up to become its independent organization because that's all part of that Main Street program. So I know that sitting on the board for years, it was always hard to figure out what should we be doing. So you're the first one who's came here. So
Good, and
that's good news. So,
yeah, that's good.
but I definitely think we should talk about it maybe at a workshop sometime, what we want.
Yeah, I would love to have that feedback. Like I said, we had several at-length discussions in our board meetings just to talk about what do we want to do? How do we want to support the city? Because that original intent that's been discussed was to help kind of figure out downtown. Well, it's been figured out pretty well. And so in that respect, I feel like that piece of the charter has been fulfilled. So do we continue down this path? One of the things that's mentioned in the bylaws is that ultimately, if this board is not needed, that ultimately it can also be dissolved, which I don't know that we're there yet. We have a lot of people on the board currently that have wonderful talents and things that they can add. So if we can transition like we're talking about and support the city, support City Council in a different way, then we should do that.
Well, I guess the other question, if you talk to downtown businesses about setting up like a DDA, their own authority where they can work together for marketing efforts, and then that's part of that. First thing you're saying, if you separate, usually you have a funding mechanism, which would be
right
fees, to run a downtown authority. I don't know if you guys have talked about that on your board or not.
And that's something that has to go to voters, so it's not so before, that would be a pretty big process that's maybe outside of, I think this group would be looking for council to, do you want to help us and, or do you want, this group to do that? But I don't think that's been something the group has done in any way, shape or form, but the original intent with the Main Street program is kind of preceding those steps and getting to that, which was decided not to go that direction years ago. That doesn't mean it can't be something that could be decided to go that direction in the future, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to answer.
No.
Make sure that was clear that that's not a council decision or a down advisory board. It's a council decision to put it on a ballot or not, but.
And that would be just for the property owners in a certain area, right?
Right. It's a defined boundary. It includes
Homeowner.
like additional funds that each of those businesses are paying to that entity. It's a tax essentially, so for that entity.
Enter the mic if we have to be able to hear you.
Sorry, I mean, not to get too much in the weeds on this, but you can structure that a couple of different ways. You don't necessarily actually have to have an additional tax per se. It can be a percentage of sales tax that gets funded into the DDA, but is a whole different animal and process that does require vote and a development of a downtown development plan. So it's governed by statute. So if that's something council wants to explore at a different time, we can certainly put that on the agenda.
And I will say the Downtown Advisory Board has not gone down that path specifically to separate. The overwhelming kind of feedback that we get from each other and the discussion specifically centers around staying connected with City Council and supporting City Council in still this advisory capacity, but specifically moving towards local residents to downtown businesses and kind of revitalizing. So staying within those original goals, like I mentioned, and staying connected to City Council. We've not discussed separating, and we don't feel, for the most part, and I feel like I can speak for the board, we don't feel like it's time to separate. We'd like to stay connected.
Well, then, I guess my other question would be then, are you looking at updating your bylaws with some new goals? I mean, because that one of those goals was, hey, to long-term separate. So
For sure.
that's talking about connection. That's totally different.
Yeah, and
Deal
it's
then.
it's something that Janine and I have discussed, that ultimately, once we get the feedback from City Council and once we kind of figure out the direction that we'd like to go, I think it would behoove us to go down that path and make sure that the bylaws support what we're able to do and support the goal that we want to move towards. So it's definitely something on our radar.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to some degree, this whole presentation is the idea to get where the council does stand. Like, yeah, is that something the council wants to, separate? Is that something the council feels that would be a good direction? If not, yes, should the bylaws be changed? Like, and just to get some feedback from the overall direction. Where's next? Because again, a lot of those goals have been accomplished, and then, yeah. And Jared has come up with some great ideas, like the 81521 Thursday, like that. The group has come up with great ideas for that. But yeah, I think they're definitely.
Yeah.
It's great that you are presenting and you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she's absolutely right. That's the point of us presenting, is to start the process of getting feedback from you guys to see what it is that you'd like, and in what capacity we can help serve the city and help serve City Council. Once we get that feedback, then the plan is basically to meet as a board, obviously, and figure out how we can help facilitate that, how we can meet those goals. And then from there, being able to adjust the bylaws and adjust anything else that needs to be adjusted so that we can meet those new goals and start the new process. So
Is this worth putting in a workshop so we can kind of collectively talk and kind of work through that?
Yep, I think that's a perfect opportunity.
But I think you don't wait to start recruiting more people.
no, absolutely. I've already talked to several individuals, and I know the board has kind of done the same thing. So we're working hard to try and get through this process because we need people. So
Just have one clarification or modification about Trick or Treat Street. The
Yes.
chamber does not provide the candy for the businesses. The
Okay.
Businesses
no, yeah.
provide their own candy.
And I apologize. I meant to specifically say that part of their cost that they mention is that they purchase candy that they give out themselves, not providing it for the businesses.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I think one thing that could be very helpful with the board is to gather communications list of all the businesses. I know, like we were just talking last night at the Park and Rec board, about talking to all the businesses, and there was communication of like, we have a lot of information, but not everything.
Yeah.
And there are businesses that are forgotten when there's, we were specifically talking about Mike that had this chicken festival and how they go out to all the different businesses. And so I think that could be a very valuable asset to staff, to be able to have that list that you're constantly updating as you discuss and meet with business owners. And if there's a change, to chat with the new owners so they can understand the benefit of having their contact information to the board and to staff.
I think that's a great idea. We started with a list of businesses that we got from Ciara from the city. And that's where we started the communication, sent out emails, and held, like I said, those feedback meetings. And that's one of the big reasons why we also wanted to connect with the chamber, obviously being the kind of main support system or one of the main support systems for businesses. So if that's something that the city council would like for the Downtown Advisory Board to do, I think that's a great charter for us, especially to kind of be the go-between and be able to continue to update that list and continue to be on top of that. Definitely provides us with things to do. So
Should kind of meet during a workshop and not kind of do one-offs. And just that way we can give you kind of a unified, I mean, you get to be part of the conversation, but unified kind of, here's an overall direction.
absolutely.
So we'll get that added to the list for what I don't know what we've got in our upcoming workshop. So what we'll do is we'll get with Janine, we'll get together with Mike and we'll get a date set and then have Janine come back to you or Mike can get back with you as well.
Perfect. We appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jared.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
All right, with that, we're going to move into our public participation. So this section is set aside for city council to listen to comments by the public regarding items that do not otherwise appear on this agenda. Generally, the city council will not discuss the issue and will not take an official action under this section. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak, now would be the opportunity. All right, if you'd please step up to Mike and state your name and address for the record, and then we ask you to please limit your comments to a 3-minute period.
Yes. My name is Travis Schroeder. I live at 226 Narrow Leaf Drive here in Fruita. I am the pastor at Bethel Assembly of God in Grand Junction. I moved here just over a year and a half ago, and I love the community. It's just amazing. I had the privilege where I was in Arizona, Springerville, Eager. I served as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, among many other boards and things across the state of Arizona. Since I've moved here, I haven't really participated much in community involvement other than going to some of the events and going, to restaurants and being a patron and all of that. A few weeks ago, I was approached by Wendy Wood. She's one of the pastors at Bethlehem Church here in Fruita. And she said that this is a time that we can stand up and pray for our council in our city. And so I thought that would be a great way to introduce myself to the city, even though I've been here for a year and a half. So I'm going to pray if that's okay with you. And you can join me if you would like. Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, Lord, and I just thank you so much for the blessings that you provide for us, Lord, this beautiful city that you have given us and community that we have together. Lord, I just pray your tremendous blessings, Lord, over our council, over our city, over our schools, Lord, over every aspect of what we do here, Lord, in our businesses and our citizens, Lord. Lord, I just pray for your wisdom and your direction, Lord, for our council members, Lord, as they make the decisions to drive our city into the future, Lord. And we just pray, Lord, that you would just minister to them and, Lord, help them, Lord, to make wise and godly decisions in everything that they do. Lord, I pray over our schools and our teachers, principals, every business owner, and again, every citizen, Lord, that you would just minister to them. Lord, we just ask all of this in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Thank you, council.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak? Come on up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. So, yeah.
Who's this?
All right.
Karen Lenhart, 460 North Mesa Street. And Mackenzie Kimball, 177 North Apple Street. The reason we're here tonight is to give you an update. Too bad all these people have left because we are talking about community belonging. And our Fruita for Equality group is meeting the second Wednesday of the month at Lithic Book Store and Gallery from 5 to 6 p.m. And it's a community conversation. Aligning with the library, Mesa County Public Library, I think the city of Fruita, the importance of belonging to a community, and the way you do that is you bring people together and you have conversations. And so that's our plan. Tomorrow night We have, I'll let Mackenzie say the Mesa County Public Library Director's name. She's going to facilitate our discussion tomorrow, and we're really excited about it. So each month, our focus is to bring people together and just have conversations and get to know each other and just talk about being what it means to be a member of the community and what we can do to make ourselves better citizens and the community a better place. And our mission statement, promoting and supporting equality, inclusivity, and diversity through meaningful conversations and action in our community. And then.
So as Karen said, our facilitator tomorrow is going to be Michelle Boisvenu Fox, and she's the director of Mesa County Public Libraries. And she's a really skilled facilitator in these types of conversations, and she's specifically going to be talking about belonging. So it's really just kind of like a neutral topic that's hopefully allowing people to just get to see their neighbors in a new light. And we wanted to invite you all to attend if you're interested. As Karen said, we're going to have them every second Wednesday, so you can come by if you're able to. We're really excited to have Lithic involved as well, because it's a little more of a comfortable space for people to meet each other. So I have some little invitations if you'd like to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Are you ready?
Electronically.
Uh-oh, we have a low budget, so.
If I wanted to find this on social media, could I?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
We don't, it's really just Karen and I running everything, so we don't have a social media
Right, yeah.
presence at the moment.
We don't.
But we have an email that we check.
Great.
And we're gonna have signups for like an email list where we'll send out information. So if you'd like to be on that, we'd be happy to.
Do you not want it shared on social media if one could?
Oh, no, you're more than welcome
Okay.
to. We just don't have a page that we
Gotcha.
like monitor and keep
Okay,
up with.
perfect.
Like sharing this would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Great.
really for us, that personal, that face-to-face invite is really kind of the connection that we want to make with people. And so, that's why
Yeah.
we're here. And we've talked too about, I know you heard the Downtown Advisory Board, just and us going into each business and saying, hey, next Wednesday, this is what we're doing. Come talk about, listen, talk, discuss. So that's.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
I don't know if Matthew gave you 6 minutes because there's two of you or not, but.
Under 3 minutes.
All right, perfect. You've done this before, so thank you for coming in.
Good night.
All right, with that, is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda? All right, hearing none, we're going to close public participation and move into our consent agenda. So these are items where all conditions or requirements have been agreed to or met prior to the time they come before council for final action. They will all be approved by a single motion of the council. So I'm going to open that up to public comment. Is there anybody that'd like to speak on something on the consent agenda? Hearing none here. Is there anybody online?
No comments online.
All right, we're going to close that and bring it back to council. Are there any questions or do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. We approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Cry,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi, Counselor Freeman,
Yes.
motion passes 6-0.
All right, we do not have any public hearings tonight, so we're going to move into our city manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just a few items to update you on. First, I want to recognize two students from my public administration class at CMU. We have London and Taylor here observing your meeting. Happy to have them here. And
You didn't require them to talk during the public comment time?
no,
Oh.
but they get to write a report about their night. And we'll add it to the minute. No, I'm just kidding. To the minutes. But the other thing is Mesa County had received some additional funding after they somewhat tied to the ARPA funds, if you recall, they assisted Debec, Colburn, and Palisade with $1 million for each project. So we've had at their invite, they had given us some time to think through some projects, and then I just wanted to let you know we did give them an official request for funding for the Maple Street Bridge. It's after having discussions with them on various projects that are already in our strategic plan, that are planned projects to do that made sense with kind of what they were looking for and what we had. We felt like that was a clean, clear-cut project. So they are thinking of that. We'll be meeting with them this week, and I'm not sure when we'll know an answer, but just wanted you to be aware that we've officially asked for funding assistance for the Maple Street Bridge that we weren't planning to start until about fall of 2024. We got to get through Pine Street Bridge first, right?
Is there a certain amount of money they had in that, or is there a dollar amount
There was an amount they received. There was not a dollar amount that they said. They didn't give us a limit. So we asked for 2.5 million for the Maple Street Bridge, and then we'll have conversations with what works for them on that. So. Which is the estimated cost of the Maple Street Bridge. And then as of today, yeah. The only other update I had is we did receive news today through Mesa County Public Health. We've been working with the trails coordinator there, Ross Middleman, for ever since that position was created, to expand the Fruita Trails Initiative. And following the work that the Fruita Trails Initiative had done on a master plan for doubling the amount of miles at the North Fruita Desert Trail System. And as you recall, then that paid for studies and paid for plans. And we've had some construction out there with smaller grants. But through the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, a larger grant, they were awarded $250,000 to continue that project, which really helps us within hopefully within those timeframes that the studies last to actually between that and volunteer work complete the master plan that was done in the near future. So hopefully some more construction this year and however long it takes to finish up. But that's a huge win for actually getting that project to fruition. And that's all the updates I have tonight.
All right, thanks, Mike. With that, we're going to move into our council reports and actions. So I'm going to go ahead and start down here with Matthew. Did you want to cover yesterday's in yours, or you want me to?
Oh, I wasn't going to talk about that, but give me one moment.
Well, I think it'd be a good update for council. So let's move to Janine then, while you're looking that up.
So you kind of heard the downtown advisory update already, so I don't need to give any update there. The Livability Commission at the last meeting had a new chair elected, and that is Dave Krisney. And then the most of that discussion from there was similar to what Jared was talking to us about, like, okay, this is what we've done. Is this what we want to keep on going? They didn't quite come to an end, did they, Shannon? Yeah. So and so that's still an ongoing conversation. But again, they're very dedicated, motivated people. I have no doubt that they will come to a conclusion and serve as well as they have already in the past. And then the Arts and Culture Board, I have a meeting tomorrow, but just a reminder, the Coco Vino fundraiser that they're raising money for their Hearts of Fruita project that they talked to us about a month and a half ago, is March 10th, and $35 tickets. And that's the update from that.
Did they get the rest of their sponsorship? Like they were looking for a band sponsor?
Well, they definitely have that band in place.
Yeah.
And whether they're going to pay them or not, I haven't heard. The agenda for tomorrow is long, and it includes all of those kinds of updates. So I'll be able to give a better update. Yes, I can get, I can give a better update after tomorrow's meeting. But I'm just saying, if you're at all interested in coming to the event, mark your calendars now. Space is limited because there's capacity limits in the venue that they're having it. So, yeah.
The liquor license notice has caused quite the stir.
Oh.
People ask me what's happening with that.
Oh, just because it's out in front of the church.
Because it's
building.
like-
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Matthew,
Yeah, I can go over our meeting from,
I'm just talking about highlight, I mean, just so everybody knows.
Oh, yeah, I will do.
Them in that, so.
So yesterday, Dan, Mike, Joel, myself, Garrett Davis and Ron Abelo, I think is how you pronounce his last name, had a meeting at the request of Garrett. It was an hour, scheduled for 1 hour that I left at an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know how much longer it went on. Okay. And the purpose of the meeting was really not to rehash kind of what had happened, but talk about things moving forward. So as concise as I can make it, there was 9 points that they brought up. In terms of concerns, I won't go into great detail on all of these, just the highlights. One was the fee structure, keeping it the same as what it currently is, was one of their concerns. We talked about not adopting every code cycle, but every other code cycle. We did talk about a little bit about the TIF fees, but not happy about that, but that was in hindsight. They voiced their concerns that in their view, we were subsidizing the building department. We explained that it wasn't an enterprise fund. We subsidize other portions of the police, parks, other things like that. They want to talk about future communication and community involvement. They brought up a great point of perhaps participating in the quarterly AMGD meeting. So to open up that dialogue.
What is
They-
it? Sorry.
Associated Members for Growth and Development. It's a
It's got realtors, it's got developers, it's got a.
And the point there was, it's something we've participated in many times, but it's usually we're requesting because we want to bring something up, or they're requesting because they want a specific presentation. Whereas this was more of a point of, how about we just have a quarterly presence at those monthly meetings, and that way maybe things that they haven't thought of asking us for, or we haven't thought of asking them for, could just be a normal update, which is very easy for us to do. So Dan and or I will be at those at least quarterly.
No worries. I'm on point 6 of 9. They did vocalize that their concerns about how it happened in terms of the department and the appearance of it. One of the points which they brought up was a process for resolving conflicts between the builders and the department, in terms of not necessarily what the policy was, but what was the process. So that was discussed, and not sure about timing of grading inspections. And with our new process, they were actually fairly happy that this was going to go away. So did I miss anything?
What was that point again?
With grading inspections, when it happens.
Speed of Inspections is more or less, was the key thing. So I guess I want Matthew to bring this up, just so you guys all know, we did meet with them because we all got a letter on them and from them as a group. And so Matthew made a great point of saying, how do we talk to move forward, not hashing the past? And an hour of the meeting was still hashing the past, so. But I think it was good community.
It was good. I think it will hopefully let them, they were able to have an official forum to kind of voice their concerns, make sure that they were being heard, which I think we accomplished. We acknowledged what they were saying. There were areas in which we said we're just going to agree to disagree. They voiced some of their frustrations. We voiced some of our frustrations back. Overall, I thought it was a very productive meeting. There were good points brought up on both sides and directly address a lot of the concerns moving forward.
Thank you.
You have anything else, or you?
We had the GJEP workshop.
They vote on changing the name.
No, changing the name was not part of that. Apparently.
They voted Matthew off the board after that recommendation.
Apparently, I may have been a little too eager on the SWOT section of it with weaknesses and threats. Perhaps I should have scaled back my thoughts on that one. But a couple quick highlights from last year. I won't go over all of them. 83 actual jobs
created within the valley, 4 million capital expenditures, a little over 15.5 million in total economic impact for 2022. So there's a lot more of those specs out there. I won't go over them all. They are available at gjep.org.
And they had a great article on them in the Sentinel.
And then for the Chamber of Commerce, we meet tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
All right.
You're all more than welcome to show up if you would like. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, thank you. James.
I don't have anything.
All right, Ken.
I haven't updated since I've been to GVRTC meeting. The big thing that came out of that meeting was we suspended the, oh gosh, I forget what it's called, the bus that does
Not the bus stand.
Dash, thank you. The Dash service that's free from like Horizon Drive to Main Street and the college, just since COVID, it hasn't, ridership's been down. We did also, there was a Fruita thing, and I'm sorry, I forget, we did get some grant, right? Am I right? There for some
Yes.
project we have going on.
Yeah, sorry.
You're
Yes,
right, sorry.
We did apply for one of their, they had some smaller grant opportunities that, if you remember, we had $90,000 from One Riverfront Foundation to do design of a connection under 340 for the trail. And if you remember, those bids came back double the price. When this process came up and it fit that type of project, so we applied for the additional funds to be able to do that design. I think we got I want to say it's $160,000 grant awarded to us for that, so that we can help pay for that or cover those costs for the design, and maybe not use all of the Riverfront's funding, so it could go back to them or go towards a construction project.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Amy?
I attended the Chambers Coffee and Connections, I think it was called. It was really great. There was a lot of really interesting reports from several cities around the valley. One of the things that I took out of that, our new fire marshal, I think it would be really beneficial for him and the fire chief to maybe come. I don't know if that's already in the works to like come and do a report or get them informed, and even maybe the fire marshal too, to meet the planning. Because he has input on a lot of that, that we do. So it would be just really nice to kind of establish that relationship.
Oh, he meets weekly with planning department, the fire marshal.
No, I mean the
Oh.
commission.
Board.
Oh, right.
Or board, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Just to, he expressed.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I know he's very involved with you guys. I apologize. And then I appreciate the quick response to the old furniture, the furniture that was dumped on the corner. Got an email regarding some dumped furniture. So you guys quickly took care of that. That was really great. Historical preservation, we met yesterday. Their big focus right now is getting some new plaques for the historic buildings. I think that's everything.
All right, he's yawning, so it must be everything. All right. All right, Aaron, you're
Ready
up.
now.
All right.
I've got a couple quick things, then a couple questions to discuss. Just heads up, I've not been to a museum board. They're challenging at communication. We have county commissioners helping us to make that happen whenever the next board meeting is. I think there's been some sickness or whatever, but we'd like to see that happen.
Question, can I interrupt on this? Are we scheduling them automatically to come in and talk with us? Because I know annually we're supposed to do that. And I don't know what, I think it's normally April or so?
Yeah, we actually had one scheduled in, I forget, it was the fall or end of the year. It was when we had to cancel the council meeting, and then we weren't able to get one rescheduled. And then they have to submit their annual report. We have to go through it, have staff check the building goals that they have.
There's a timeline.
And then, that's in February. And It's usually the February, March timeframe, and then we plan to have them come give an update after that. We could have done another one before, but now we're so close to that, we might as well get through that process because we need to do it again right after, so.
Okay. All right, sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. Good item. With Reed Park for the GoCo grant, we're about 3 weeks out to hearing about award or not. Mark feels very comfortable that it's third time's the charm. So we'll see about that. They've had some great feedback with the skate park. People love it. And I think we're going to have be a destination for those type of activities. So I think that'll be great. One interesting fact, we're talking about lighting, 300 grand. So there's going to be a certain amount of lighting, but like if you wanted to have a great lighting experience, it's not going to happen. We're trying to get the GoCo grant, but no, it's like 300.
Glow sticks work really well.
Yeah. But no, it was like $300,000 for lights just around that aspect of the park. I think that this city's doing pretty good at communicating and having outreach and communicating the different aspects of the park, because some people are like, shoot, what's going away? Are we losing the horseshoes? Are we losing this? And they'll have people come into, I think some horseshoe interested folks came to the skate park and left within a few minutes when they realized it's still in the plan. But I think there's a lot of good interest for that. Second, or another thing, it's through I don't remember how the grant came through, but it's come through the Mesa County Library, and I guess it's been approved in some fashion, I think, with the city to put in a story walk around the Fruita Community Center. I think we got it in some fashion over other areas, but really what it is, it's plaques that are on top of some wood posts, and there'll be a little walk path around the community center at some point. And it really is an emphasis in having the visual aspect, the physical walking aspect to help those that are learning how to read, the young kids, to be able to go from place to place. And it's going to be managed by the library. So it's not a cheap. Shawnee is very excited for it, and to see how it goes and go forward with it. So I think that'll be a great aspect for our community. Two things that I think are more of a discussion point that I thought would be good to have. One is, I think it'd be great to have a conversation with that gas leak that happened the other day. Like what was the outcome of it? Why did it happen? What's the liability? Why did we break the line, causing, luckily, just not a big gas leak, not an explosion or a fire, but
I don't think it's
around the
yeah.
Just want to understand, like, why did it happen? Because it's my understanding with OSHA rules, like nobody should have been within 2 feet of without a shovel.
Yeah, so it's an easy answer. When you're digging, we do locates for certain pieces, and then when it's gas, Excel comes out and does the locate, shows where it's going to be, and then the contractor's good to go to dig. And unfortunately, they were wrong and hit it. And that happens.
Excel was wrong.
Well, I'm not saying
This is the recording.
Excel did the locate, and then they have that area, but sometimes those are, unfortunately, it still ended up occurring. And wasn't a mistake on any of our parts. The same thing that happened at CMU, same thing that happens all throughout Grand Junction. It happened on the south side of Fruita occasionally. Everything's done to avoid it. It happens when local businesses are having a line repaired sometimes for their own line, and they hire a contractor, and something can get hit. All the work is done to avoid it. But we do rely on the locates from the gas company themselves to do that. There was another item in the way, and where they showed it, unfortunately, there was when they were doing the removal following those plans, it was hit. So, yeah.
And if you're that interested, I know a group that's having a webinar on February 22nd at 1 o'clock. about how this happens. If you want, I'll make sure you get an invite to that.
Throw me on it.
All right, you got it.
The other thing came from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board last night. So they're looking to grab a committee, create a committee instead of, I think it's Mackenzie who was here tonight. She's the communications gal for them. I think it's in the past, it's been that she's been doing all the vendors review, and they're through different discussions with Grand Junction, they've looked to establish a committee, a small committee to help vet some of these things. And I had one concern that where they've landed up on who they're going to allow for vendors. And I have a problem with that. There was an issue last year. I don't know if it was Mike the Headless or with the fall festival, but they've taken a position this year through council that no nonprofits are not allowed to be vendors at our city sponsored Mike Death's Chicken Festival to negate the issues of. So how I look at it is there's a couple vendors that could apply that we might not be a good fit, but to appropriately not invite them to be with us, we've created a process to where now we're pushing off 90% of a group that can't come because they're nonprofits. And one of a workaround for like the Family Northwest, because we have a board member who works with the Family Northwest. Their workaround as a nonprofit is their sponsor. But I have really big concern with disallowing nonprofits as a statement of trying to manage risk to just get rid of all risk with issues like no churches can come then, right? Girl Scout troop can't come. And things like that, that it's like, that's part of our community. Like, what if the Food Bank of the Rockies wants to come have a spot? They're not allowed. If somebody is a nonprofit that sells military paraphernalia, I know I have one friend that he loves coming to the festivals to be able to buy. He's a vet and he wants to buy new stuff every year. They're not allowed if they're a nonprofit. So I don't know if it's to have discussion with staff. It's like, I don't know. I'd like to understand more what's going on because that's a concern for me.
Mary Elizabeth would like the microphone, Mike. Mike, can you pass the mic down to her? Mike, the mic.
That's the mic. So I can speak a little bit to that because my office was working with staff. Part of it is there have been some recent cases regarding, I mean, don't want to get too in the weeds, and I'm happy to actually set up a meeting, separately if you'd like. But there's case law out there that with kind of came out of signage, but you can't regulate content. And so you can't, for instance, if you have, let's say you've got like 6 vendors apply to be at the Mike Festival, and 2 of them want to sell, and I'm just using these as examples. This is not me taking any political statement or anything like that, but 2 want to sell Nazi paraphernalia, 2 want to sell blankets with wolves on them. A couple want to sell blankets with Democratic National Convention labeling on them. So the committee cannot say, we will not allow the Nazi paraphernalia, but we will allow, because we don't like Nazis, and we don't want Democrats, we're only going to take wolves because
We don't want wolves either.
This is true. The wolves are now a statement as well. So maybe that was a really poor example. But so you can't regulate by content. So you can't make selections on content. And so I think staff was trying to come up with a way. And so then the same becomes true of nonprofits. You're going to likely have more nonprofits apply who want to be there than you have space. And so how to put those parameters around how to pick a nonprofit. So with vendors, you can look at what is being sold. And we've had 6 vendors come in who want to sell blankets, and we decided we're only going to take 2 that sell blankets. You can kind of weed things out, but you're not regulating content. Is that making much sense? And so I think so to your example, if the Girl Scouts, so we narrowed it down to just, you need to be selling something, and ideally it's something, you know, that's locally made or artisanally made, or, you know, so, something like that. So if a nonprofit, though, were selling something, I mean, that's a vendor, so they're not prohibited from applying. But I think what the struggle was, and again, maybe there's a better work around this, was how to stay within those confines of making choices without looking at content. So if that makes sense. So that's where it's coming from. And so I think staff was looking for some guidance there, and you know, maybe there's another way around that, but it is hard, difficult, I think, for people to not think about content when they are considering things like that, applications like that. So.
And I understand all that, and I appreciate that. Those were constraints. Right now, as this committee is going to be communicated to, saying no nonprofits. So there needs to be some clarity in it, so we don't inappropriately discriminate certain types, or don't allow certain types of folks to come in and apply.
Right, you cannot regulate it by telling certain folks they can't apply. That makes sense.
Well, right now, when I was informed of what's going on, it was no nonprofits can apply.
Right.
There's some miscommunication that's happening, but I think it's of course valuable to manage the risk. I think it's not appropriate to try to get rid of all risk. But it's part of our community fabric that we have nonprofits part of our community.
Well, Aaron, I can address it a little bit on the Fruita Chamber side, because of Fall Festival, they allow nonprofits to come in, but every vendor has to sell something. And I think that's what Mary Elizabeth was saying. So, right. Is right.
And
that's
election process. I think what, so I'm sorry to
Right.
interrupt.
No, that's all right. That's kind of how the chamber viewed it. It's not, that way you're not getting political parties. You're not getting other things that are just there to hand out literature. There actually have to be a vendor in the word, what a vendor is. They're selling a product or a good for somebody to purchase at that event. And so I think that may be more
that's
direction
more
that.
clear guidance. So I think we just need to make sure that as this committee is formed, because I think they're trying to find 3 people right now between, they originally reached out to tourism board, I think, and then park board, and then it's arts and culture. Thank you. As they're forming that, I want to make sure that we have good communication, because how it was presented to me, I was like, ooh, that's a timeout, because that's going against who we are as a community.
Vendors and
Does that make sense to have what you're saying, Mayor?
Well, that's what I think Mary Elizabeth is saying.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's but I'll go by what she says, because I don't want to get sued down the road for it.
No, that's great. But I think if we make sure that they're advised to work a certain way and not, I think there's a misunderstanding.
I think it's the wording is what the key is that, yeah.
Is no nonprofits. No, it's, you have to have a sellable good of some fashion.
I mean, it doesn't have to, you know, but as long as they're a vendor, they can come in for consideration. That makes sense.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's clear with them. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah.
Perfect. That. I have.
Wait, I was gonna say, if you have more than 5-second gap in talk, then that means your time's done. All right.
We're all good.
All right, I've got just short one. So I just want to thank everybody that went to the municipalities dinner last week. I think that was awesome. We had a good turnout. So all of you that made it, that's awesome. I won't look at the one, but no. But no, I think it was good to connect with them and just hear about the schools doing and just making those connections on a regular basis. So the other one is, I know that we had all got sent out from Deb a list of what boards have openings on them. So I know downtown has made it clear they need more. And I know we advertise them for a minimum of 30 days. And I know there's a lot of them that Deb has that are like, hey, these have been they've been advertising them for a long time. So I think it is something we may want to be more proactive. Mike, I don't know if we want to, if what CR is doing as far as trying to get some, maybe more word out about some of the boards, because I know several of them, we do have openings and several of them have restrictions too. Because I think the downtown one, you have to live in Fruita
Or have a business.
or have a business in Fruita. Tourism is open to anybody. I think livability, you have to live in Fruita. So there's some of those that we just want to make sure we're clear when we're saying, hey, we're looking for people.
Denise Height has started featuring like little blurbs about our works in the Fruita Living magazine, which I think might help a little bit. I think it's just getting the word out that people don't even know what it is.
We went through some cycles where we couldn't fill boards and then all of a sudden we had way more people than what we need. And now we're back, I think, to a point where, hey, we need some more new people on some of these boards.
I wonder if there's some verbiage with saying like being on a board it takes 2 hours a month.
Right.
So it's like, it's not a huge commitment, but you can contribute significantly
Right.
to the community. Because I think some people might be.
There would be some value.
Well,
to that.
and-
I think people don't really know sometimes what they're getting into.
Just adding the fact that there's now term limits that may make it harder to keep a board full because some people, and I'm not arguing this. I'm not arguing.
Value of that.
against that. I'm just saying, I think that we're maybe seeing effects of the fact that there are term limits to boards, so
It's to that board. So if they want
they
it,
could do some with.
but they may not be passionate about it. So that's always my challenge, finding somebody that's passionate for it. So I just want to, if there's a way that we can maybe get a little more information out, just to try and hopefully get some more. And then, again, we, like what Jared said, we all know people in the community. So, if we can help fill some of those or find the right people for those boards. Because I know James and I had that, we turned down one because we didn't feel like it was a good fit. And so I don't think we still filled that spot now. So, but again, we want to make sure we have the right fit for those boards, and maybe somebody for one board won't fit now, but they might be a great fit for another board for us. So I just want to put that on your minds because that was.
Speaking of that, not to cut you off, but I suggested to him that he went to the livability. Did he ever?
So,
Yeah.
that's all I've got.
I just wanted to ask if the group would be interested in, I know we already put a note down to discuss the downtown advisory board, but I do think it's a broader discussion than just the downtown advisory board. And what I mean by that is I think council and myself and the other staff liaisons need to have a workshop discussion where we've kind of given a little bit of a review of what the original intent was for some of these boards, and it may not be all of them. I mean, there's some that are just, planning commission is just a very specific, function. They're not wondering what they should be doing, but we have more than the downtown advisory board that advisory to you, and it's not that you appoint them to just come up with things, but they need direction on what should they be doing, and is the original intent. Kind of the question tonight was, maybe the original intent's been met, and it kind of has in a lot of ways. So, I mean, it's really a question of, do they continue? And if they continue, what is the purpose that the council would like them to advise council on? And I think that's a healthy discussion that we need to have with a few of them. We have some that have been around a long time, and then some that have been around a shorter period of time. And they're kind of, when you go to their meetings, and I know when I get reports from the council or the staff liaisons, again, it's not all of them, but some of them are still trying to figure out what the purpose is. And as much as they can come up with some good ideas, the purpose is really set by city council. And so I think kind of having that discussion about downtown advisory and maybe a few others that are asking us those questions, we could look back, what quickly, we could have a prepared ahead of time where you could quickly look at, this is what it was created for, these were the main points of the bylaws and those kinds of things. And then let's have a discussion. It really should tie to the strategic plan. It should tie to the big goals of the community, and say, okay, do we have a group that can help advise in this particular area? And sometimes we have overlap. When we have overlap, we need kind of by which group it is. have the other group work on a different piece. So are you open to kind of, we get that on a workshop, but it's a little more than just the downtown advisory board. I mean, I think that's I'm glad he brought that up tonight but
I guess identifying which boards need to, because I think tourism is another one that has clear direction.
Yeah.
It might still be nice to hear.
What their overall goal is, but that one's based on, well, not charter, but the voters, the actual.
yeah, and we can, that's the other thing. There's a few created by charter, and then most of them are created by ordinance, by the council and tourism's created by, we have a tourism, we have, Logic Act, and then this group was created by ordinance to administer, those funds, but it's still at the direction of this group, right?
Everybody good with that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I totally am. I don't want to get overwhelmed with it where we come away not having direction for any of those. So like if we even have to break it up
Right.
to a couple at a time, because if we have 5, we're
That's a
probably
great
not going to
point.
come away with any clear guidance for anybody.
It could be nice to that we have it amongst ourselves and then have set up that plan for what else do we need to do? Is it inviting those boards in to us and having
Yeah.
discussions if it's just a chairman coming
Right.
to us or things like that? But
I
think
just don't
that'd be
want us to
great.
get, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's probably not a once and done kind of discussion by any means, and considering the fact that for workshops, there are other items, you're right, it's probably going to be hard to talk about every, but maybe we take pieces along the way and just be working towards that.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Is there anything else before we?
I just want to say thank you to Joel, to Mike, to Dan. The meeting which we had with Garrett and Ron had the potential to get rather heated. And just kudos to everybody to kind of trying to stick to the discussions, keep it forward looking and not getting hot under the collar. I thought it was well done by everybody.
We were hot under the collar. We just didn't say what we wanted to. Just to clarify.
Yes.
That is a
We kept
success.
it at the appropriate level.
Very professional.
And I know there was some restraint going on, so it was just well done. So thank you.
All right. All right. With that, since we've allowed Matthew to talk twice, we're going to go into our next item. So our next item is executive session. So I don't. So I need a motion to convene an executive session. Who's going to make that?
I move that we move into executive session. Do I need to read that thing?
Yes, you do need to move.
Hold on, let me
down.
pull back up. I'm already
The
there.
thing.
Gotta go to the bottom.
It's like page 87 of
Yeah, get to the
89.
bottom.
Oh, I don't want to move anymore. No. I move to meet an executive session with the city attorney for the following purposes: to discuss the consideration of possible purchase of real estate property pursuant to CRS 24-64024A, to discuss the consideration of and the process of a possible sale of real estate owned by the city, specifically Enix Lake and its water rights pursuant to CRS 24-64024A, to discuss the consideration of the process of a possible sale of real property owned by the city, specifically property located at the Lagoon property pursuant to CRS section 24-64024A. 4, to receive legal advice from the city attorney regarding special legal questions concerning water rights and the Lagoon properties pursuant to CRS 24-64024B.
And number 5.
And I'm remembering it. And for economic development discussion. Say that again.
Legal advice.
And legal advice concerning economic development
Pursuant to section.
pursuant to CRS. Yes.
All right. We have a first. We have a second.
Second.
All right. We got a first and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none, Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Williams? Counselor Cry?
Aye.
Counselor Miller?
Yes.
Counselor Hansi?
Yes.
Counselor Bremen?
Yes.
Counselor Purser?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
And I just wanted to add.
Take a 5-minute break. Does any? All right. We'll take a 5-minute break. Yes, we'll stay here.